response to a couple of the videos that we put together on YouTube showing a string tracker or a game tracker in action on deer, bear, hogs, and things like that. I've got a lot of requests via emails for information on these things. They've been around for a number of years, probably 25 or 30 years, and kind of fell out of favor over the years, particularly when bows got faster and faster and people moved away from trad equipment. I've shot them that whole time. I'm a tremendous advocate of them, and for a number of reasons. I like the fact that you can shoot deer in a heavy cover situation, or bear or hogs, some of your more fatty animals, and even without a blood trail, you can literally walk right to your animal. It's got a half-mile of line inside of here if you get the 2500 spool, and it will provide not just recovery of the trophy, but we hunt in Georgia a lot, and the temperatures are extremely high, up into the 80s and 90s at night. Recovery of a deer the next day is just simply not an option. So you can wait 1 or 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours on a gut shot deer, and then oftentimes walk right to your animal using the string tracker. The string trackers can be mounted a number of different ways. If you have the stabilizer bushing, that's the simplest way. If your bow doesn't have a bushing at all, you can buy the strap-on type from places like Custom King or Three Rivers Archery or something like that, where you can strap it on or tape it onto your bow. There's a lot of different options. Here's a picture of one of a different type of bracket that can be mounted on your quiver insert holes right here. Alright, this is what your game tracker is going to look like when you get it, the actual replacement spool. Here's the canister itself that you buy. This is an older one. You can see it's got the smaller hole. The newer models that you buy, this one's probably 20 years old, maybe older, have a much larger hole on the end there, but it doesn't really matter which one you use. This is a 2500 spool. You can also get a 3000 spool if you can find them, and then there's even a 1000-foot spool. I would not advocate the 1000-foot spool, and I'll show you why in just a minute. Alright, comes packaged like this for a reason. Try your best not to crush it. If it arrives crushed, you got to make sure that it hasn't damaged the spool beyond use. But you're going to open this thing up very carefully. Get it out very carefully, and then one end's going to have the string coming out of it. Pull that out just a little bit. Put that string through the hole, and then load the spool. Before we load it, I want to show you something on the end here, and this is the most critical part of a game tracker. The mistakes that people make is they load this thing into their bow and they say, okay, I'm ready to go. You see how tightly woven that inner spool is right there? What you want to do is pull out at the minimum 100 to 200 feet. And I mean, you're going to pull enough to where it kind of freaks you out that you're wasting the spool itself. But you're going to pull and pull and pull. I'm going to leave the cap off for right now, but you just keep pulling. You can see it's got just a little bit of tension. You can probably hear it. When you get it to where it needs to be, there'll be no tension on the spool, and you won't be able to hear it any longer. Don't be afraid to pull this stuff out. Remember, you've got a half-mile of line right here. So getting rid of 100 yards or so is not going to hurt you at all. It's getting easier and easier every time I remove 10 or 15 yards of line. Alright, you get the point here, but you can see you could easily get a pencil in there, or maybe even a portion of your pinky if your pinky's not too big there. But it's very easy to pull and almost no noise whatsoever for that thing to come out. When you do that, you're going to get a free spooling shot. Now a lot of folks will say, well, I'll get the thing and then I'll shoot it a couple of times to see how it goes. Well, all that's going to do is destroy your confidence, because when you have that tight spool, it's going to affect your arrows. So you're going to say, well, I don't know about this thing. I can guarantee you, after seeing easily 150, maybe 200 animals killed with a game tracker, I have never seen a malfunction because of the game tracker itself when it's used properly. When you put it back on your bow, that's how it's going to be stored, and that's how to load the canister. Number of sizes of string trackers that are on the market. I believe you can still get a 1,000 footer. The most common is this one, the 2,500 footer, and there's the 3,000 footer. It's important, I think, to stay away from the 1,000 footer for this reason. You just saw me talk about pulling out enough line out of the end of this thing to make sure that you got a free flow of line when you're shooting. Well, a 1,000 footer is a little over 300 yards of line, so if you pull out that 100 yards, you're down to 2/3 of your spool left. 200 yards of line sounds like a lot until you do a pass-through on a deer. And for every yard that deer runs, if you have a pass-through shot, the deer's going to pull 2 yards for every yard that they travel. So you just burn through your spools very, very quickly. The half-mile spool is a much better option for you. All right. The mistakes that people make with one. You know now how to set the thing up. If a game tracker is ever going to fail you, it's going to be because of a mistake that you make, in my opinion. And that is usually forgetting to take the cap off. If you do nothing else, if you learn nothing else from this, when you get to your tree, you're set up, you're ready to go. Before you pull that arrow off, pull that cap off. Sooner or later, if you do it the other way, you're going to forget to pull that cap off and you're going to shoot. At that point, it's going to severely impact your arrow, and then you're going to say, Jerry, you were wrong. That thing slowed my arrow down. Well, it did. But after the shot, the arrow took off. It plummeted underneath the deer, the hog, or the bear, and then it popped your cap off. So when you look down, your cap is off, and you don't even remember that you didn't take the cap off. So form a habit of popping the cap before you get your arrow ready to shoot. It's that simple. All right, mounting the string to the arrow. Real simple. You get to your tree, take your string in your hand, undo the broadhead, maybe a couple of turns, and then you want to go away from you. Or basically, if you're looking down at the broadhead, you want to run it clockwise. Because if you do it another way, there's 4 spins right there. Carefully grip your broadhead. Get the string into the groove there. I like to pinch my strings together. I'll cut off the excess, and I'm ready to go. I like for my strings to be hanging down. I want them out of my way, but that's a personal thing. And then I'll set my knock when I get to my tree where my broadhead's at the angle that I want it. It's that simple. Get at least 3 to 4 spins, tighten it, make sure that your string is going the same direction that the broadhead screws in. Otherwise, you'll simply be pushing the line out. And there's your connection point right there. All right, let's take a couple of shots. I'm going to take a shot here. You're going to notice, he'll zoom to the target here. You're going to notice that when the arrow strikes the target, you're going to have a lot of excess line hit the target itself. That happens on an animal too. I'll show you a clip of a bear that I recently shot, and it looks like a pile of string hits the bear at one time. And what'll occur is you'll think that you've missed, and because probably 20 yards of line will hit that animal. The animal will run some ways before it starts to peel out. So let's take a shot. Piles up right here, and this is not a tremendous amount, but let's take a look and see just how much piled up on the animal here. That's 6 or 7 yards right there. Very common.